What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Gathering the Magic here, bringing you Splinterlands content almost every single day. We also never stream right here on this channel, whether it's Tuesday, Thursday, or Sunday morning, so you can come by and say hello, but I probably won't be here. Okay, guys, so let's go over land. This was mentioned in the town hall. This was one that I was very excited to hear about. Listened to the town hall a couple of times through, just to try to get all the different nuggets that Matt dropped about land. This is by no means everything that was discussed, but these are some of the key points that stuck out, at least to me. Some of it was already known, but it was just pretty much confirmed. Although Matt did say, you know, there are some things that are subject to change, but this is basically the direction that they're heading right now. One of the things that they did mention is the 14 different land types. This was kind of known already for quite a while, but one thing he did say that I kind of guessed was that there will be two types of land that is best suited for each splinter. Basically meaning if you are looking to maximize your cards for land, you almost need to know what type of land that you have. Say, for example, you have 4 plots of land and you open them up and reveal them, and they are 2 plains and 2 hills. Okay, I'm guessing that those are probably best suited for the life splinter, so you're going to need a lot of life cards for those types of land. Whereas maybe you're just thinking, hey, I'm going to max out, you know, maybe 1 or 2 cards from each splinter. You almost need to know basically what you're getting into right away as far as what your land types are. So once your land is revealed and you know the type, then you can kind of create your strategy for what cards you want to place on that land. Now, another thing that Matt did mention was he was looking at possibly up to 5 monsters or cards per plot. So I'm guessing that means 4 monsters and 1 summoner. So let's just say in that example, you you survey your 4 land plots. You have 2 hills, 2 plains. You're going to need probably a total of 20 cards that are in the life splinter, because you're going to need 5 cards for each of those 4 plots. So you're going to need a ton of life. Now, if you had just, you know, maxed out a lot of your reward cards, you've got life, death, fire, water, you could probably place those on the plots. You're not, you know, prohibited from doing that, but just to get probably the maximum benefit and the most resources per plot, you're going to need to know what type of land that you have. Now, I have 5 plots right now, so I'm looking at trying to do some sort of a balance for my cards as far as maxing out, you know, different splinters. But I might get that, you know, unlucky draw where I reveal all 5 plots and they're all the same type. So one of my strategies was to kind of spread my plots out to just try to get different types so that I'm not going to get, let's say, for example, you know, 5 deserts or 5 lakes, that type of thing. So just something to think about, you know, before you go, you know, maxing out all these your cards. Just take into consideration, especially if you only have a handful of plots, you may want to kind of know ahead of time before you invest too much money what splinters you need for the land types you have. Okay, buildings. Another thing that he said was only 1 building can be built on a land plot. This was pretty much, I think, something that everyone knew. But the one key question that I had was, if you have a building on your land, let's say you have a level 1 granary, and you have a ton of resources, what's to prevent you from just leveling it up to 10, which I'm assuming is the max level right away? The thing that's going to keep you from leveling your building is the level of keep or castle in your track. So let's say you have a plot of land in a certain track. Whatever that level keep or castle is in that track, that will determine the level of your building. So one thing that people are going to be able to do is they're going to be able to donate DEC and if there's other resources needed to level those buildings. So I think if you are lucky enough to have a keeper castle in your track, you're not going to have to worry too much about spending resources to level it. You're going to have up to 99 other people, if everyone has one plot, that are going to be sending you donations to get your keeper castle leveled as high as possible. Because, of course, you know, everyone wants to have the highest level building so they can get the most resources. And the only way to do that is to level the keep and castle. So this is a very important point, and this is another reason why I think people are going to want a ton of DEC. Is because you're not going to just be spending it on your own buildings and your own costs. It's kind of like being in a guild. You're going to be donating DEC to level your guild, you know, your guild hall. You're going to be using DEC to level the keep and castle on your track. So keep that in mind. Another thing that he did talk about was storage. So whatever resources you produce on your land, you're going to be able to store those resources, but not indefinitely. One thing he did mention was maybe like a sub-building that's part of your building that is specifically towards storage, and you might be able to level that up to a certain amount, but you're not going to be able to just infinitely create resources and store them in your one building. So those resources will probably either have to be sent to another plot, maybe that you own, that specifically has just a storage building, or you will have to send it, you know, to the marketplace and try to sell it or trade it for different items. Another building that he mentioned, and it was the first time I've heard anything about it, was a building called the Arena. Now this sounds similar to the arena in Guild Brawls, but this is an arena that is for ranked battles. And the way this is going to work is if you build an arena on your plot of land and a ranked battle is hosted in your arena, you will earn a percentage of reward shares for that battle. And you will also earn a share of the SPS pool for battles fought in your arena. So I think what a lot of people are going to do before land goes fully live, they're going to be building arenas. Now the one question is, if you've got 150 people building arenas for bronze, how is it determined whether it's in your arena or someone else's arena? Okay, that detail we don't really know, but it sounds like the higher level arena building that you have, you know, the more chance that you have of hosting not just a bronze rank battle, but silver, gold as well. So once again, if you want to build a high level arena building, I'm assuming that means you're going to have a higher level keep and castle. So before, you know, land goes completely 100% live, people are still going to be leveling keeps and castles. They're still going to be producing resources, and they're still going to be probably the main building that everyone's going to build before everything goes live is arenas. So make sure that you load up on your DEC to help level those keeps and castles so you can get your arena as high as possible so that you can earn some of those reward shares for free and some SPS. So for the resources Matt mentioned, right now they're looking at 30 to 40 different resources. When I basically looked at land and did some land videos in the past few months, I was looking at about half that amount. The 4 natural resources, when they are refined, so that's a total of 8. The 6 magical resources, 1 for each splinter, 6, so that makes 14. And then monster essences is 15. So they're saying 2 to 3 times that. So I'm thinking, okay, so where are these extra 15 to 25 different resources? Where are these going to come from? Well, one thing Matt mentioned as an example was, I was thinking of grain was going to be refined into food, and then you would use food basically to feed your monsters. Well, he pretty much confirmed that, but what he was talking about was creating a specific type of food for each splinter. So let's say you use the earth magical resource and combine it with grain, you would make a food specifically for the earth splinter. So this means you're probably going to have 7 different types of food alone. You know, you're going to have 1 for each of the 5 splinters, you're going to have 1 for neutral and 1 for dragon. Another thing that he mentioned was, like I was thinking of, stones are going to be converted into bricks. Well, he was talking about you're not just going to basically refine stone to bricks, you're going to use a magical resource to combine the stone into a magical brick to be used in specific buildings. So let's say you combine stone with the fire magical resource that could be used for a specific fire building. So once you start getting into that, then you start getting into, 6 or 7 different types of each refined resource. So if you look at it that way, you might have more than 40. You might actually have closer to 50 different resources. Excuse me. So another thing they talked about a little bit was castles and keeps. As I mentioned, castles and keeps will determine the level of all the other buildings that you're able to build in your track. But the castles and keeps will also have sub-buildings or parts of them that you can level. Now, what all these different sub-buildings are, he didn't really mention, but the one he did mention was for transportation and transportation costs. So if you try to transport resources outside of your region, there will be a cost associated with that, and it's not determined by how far away it is. So if you're in region 43, like I have a plot in 43, if I try transferring some of my resources from 43 to 44, it won't cost any different whether I send it to 44 or if I send it to track 1 or region 150. What will determine the cost is not the distance, but it's the level of your keep and castle. And whatever level of your keep and castle sub-building that has to do with transportation costs. So that's one thing to keep in mind, because I was kind of wondering what the transportation costs were going to be determined by. And it sounds like it's not so much distance, but it's the level of your buildings. Another thing that he mentioned was prefix titles. So those will probably be based on the number of plots you own. There will also be leaderboards for players that produce the most resources, so that's kind of cool. Not sure if you'll get any kind of rewards for the leaderboards, but it'd be kind of cool just to have a leaderboard, just in general. So there was a ton of information. This is just a little bit of what they went through. Like I said, I've listened to it a couple of times. I might listen to it again just to pick up some more information, some things that I may have missed. Definitely take a listen to it if you haven't already. The bottom line, I had 3 things to talk about just to kind of highlight. The number one thing is you're going to need a ton of DEC. Matt mentioned that if you want to max out basically everything in land the way it sits now, it's going to take tens of billions of DEC, more than currently exists. So there's going to be a lot of SPS that's going to be burnt to get DEC. So you're going to need a lot of DEC, you're going to need a lot of SPS, and you're going to need time. He said if you want to get the highest rewards, you're going to have to invest in your land. So he compared it to basically running your own business. If you want to get the best returns, you've got to invest in your business. Number 2, you can build an arena to earn reward shares and SPS before land goes live. I think this is something that people are definitely going to do before the game goes fully live. One of the main things you're going to want to do is build an arena to get that SPS and reward shares. And the third thing, I don't know if a lot of people have thought of this, even people like Gank that have a region, you're not going to be able to do everything on your own. You're not going, especially Gank, if you've got a region, if you've got 1,000 plots of land, you're not going to be able to put 5,000 maxed out monsters on 1,000 plots of land. You're not going to be able to create all the resources you need, refine them all, build all the buildings and max them out on that much land. You're not going to be able to level the castles and the keeps and pay for all the transportation and do everything on your own. You may be able to do a lot more than other people. You may have more resources than another person, more time, more money invested. But at some point, you're going to have to use the marketplace. You're going to have to trade resources with other people. You're going to have to use transportation. There's going to be a lot of trading done, which is going to make the game a lot more interactive. It's not going to be simply, I've got land, I'm going to put all my stuff on it, I'm going to max out everything, and I really don't care what everyone else does. Nope, you're going to have to care about who's in your region, who's in your track, are you working together, are you leveling your keep and castle, are you building connections saying, hey, You know, I produce a lot of grain, a lot of different food stuff. You produce a lot of bricks. Can we do some trades? You know, there's going to be a lot of good interaction, I think, between players. It's going to make the game a lot more immersive, a lot more fun, a lot more um, just cooperative, which I think is really important. Okay, guys, there you have it. Let me know what you think. Have you listened to the town hall? Are you excited about land? How many plots do you own? What is going to be your strategy? Are you going to keep your plots together or separate them? So just let me know what you guys, what your thoughts are on land. Like I said, I'm super excited and kind of behind the 8 ball as far as getting enough DEC. So it's time for me to start loading up on DEC and SPS. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And look forward to reading your comments and excited about land. Like I said, 2023 I think is going to be a fantastic year for Splinterlands, and land is going to be a huge part of that. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will come back again tomorrow with another video. Take care. Happy grinding.